Hey guys, I've not been having a good time recently. I know that I'm supposed to make a video on Echo, but you see, ever since I watched that clip of Libero annihilating a Baptiste no less than 10 seconds into the match by doing a rollout one-shot combo, I have been terrified. You thought Doomfist spawn camping you alone was bad, at least the guy isn't very subtle about it, but Echo represents what might be the silent doom coming from above. Just imagine that, a hero that can fly over your shields to use some dumb sticky bomb ability that is impossible to peel for. God. As such, I made the decision to, rather than spending my entire time gushing over the new hero on the PTR, spend what little chance I have left to enjoy the game in its current state on live. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom. As long as I am playing DPS, I'm not actually all that worried about facing off against Echo. If my aim is good enough to trash on Pharah, then I'm sure I can handle Echo as well, but it is my beloved support heroes that I am truly worried about. And considering that we have no idea what level of nonsense will eventually make it on the live server, why not enjoy playing support one last time before the game's balance is thrown into chaos once again. With that said, on our last episode, Jeff Kaplan had decided to bring bloody vengeance upon me after our 3-stack with 5 players rage quit and replaced those with a new set of challengers, giving us a run for our money. With that rivalry done and wrapped up, it is time to look ahead into the future and be scared of new threats to come. Every day could be the last day in which I can conceivably still play Ana, which is one of my favorite heroes, so I need to make use of the fact that she's currently in a pretty good spot. After all, even when Zenyatta is considered meta in GM, I can't say that he was exactly fun to play ever since goats went the way of the sledgehammer. Low mobility heroes really don't have it easy in this day and age, but there are many reasons for still playing them. Ana, for example, has some of the best BM potential in the game thanks to her sleep dart. But not every sleep dart is being hit with the intention of trolling somebody. Sometimes you just want to show them your new emote and then go about your merry way. Though other times it is possible that the enemy team is not too appreciative of that. But other times again, things simply don't want to go your way. I mean, sure, our performance fluctuates all the time between better and worse, but we all have these days in which we are wondering why we even bothered to launch the game in the first place. And that's not for lack of trying, mind you. In what I'm about to show you, I had every intention of trying to win. Keep that in mind as you witness one of my worst matches of Overwatch in a very, very long time. Our story today takes place on Route 66. By the way, apparently hotfixing things like being allowed to earn achievements in Quick Play Classic is now considered an update, and as such, all the replays have been deleted with no further notice. At least people who make Smash Brothers content get 1 week notice before having their stuff deleted, but who expects Blizzard to give their creators that same courtesy? That means that there will be more slow-mo footage than usual, and all the pretty B-roll footage from the sky and from other players' perspectives, yeah, those have been reenacted thanks to the help of my friends on Discord. Okay, Echo, you just like attack the card and pretend that you're trying to hit somebody who's there. Let's just move the card a little bit further, Echo. Let the card move a little bit. Big shout out to them, and if things look weird on today's episode, at least you know why. Being on the defending side of the equation, our team made its way towards the first point with what can only be described as the best team comp currently available in the game. While I was taking a moment to reflect upon the decisions that brought me to this place, I hadn't even realized at this point who or what I was playing with. Frankly speaking, I was still having nightmares about getting dove by Echo. Naturally, with this being my second game of the night, I was not aware just how wrong things would be going once the countdown hit 0. The attackers began storming the objective, and our tank line was ready to deal with the first wave. Our Roadhog's opening hook unfortunately bounced off against the wall, being an omen for things to come, because he immediately got sleep darted and shortly after charged into that same wall to become the first elimination of the game. Unlucky. Meanwhile, on the high ground, while trying to fend off the enemy flankers, their Lucio managed to boot me off the gas station, and naturally, I took my old lady legs in hand to try and run for my life, with an available mega health pack becoming my saving grace. I connected with our Sigma and helped deal with the WM1 Reinhardt, even though I was still getting harassed by Lucio. I appreciated my tank scaring the Reddit pest into submission, but then found myself quite frustrated over a sleep dart that didn't seem to connect despite seeing a hit marker. You can pinpoint the exact moment in which I was angrily shouting Jeff's name to the heavens. But the show must go on, and the enemy Tracer would find karmic retribution only mere moments later anyway. Tracer and Helix rockets, name a more iconic duo. But that wouldn't be the last we have seen of the annoying flanker, as I whiff every cooldown in the video game before relying on my soldier to deal with her once again. Now, call it not being warmed up, call it lag, or call it something else entirely, but in this moment you could tell that I wasn't on my A game game today. Where usually I pride myself on being an above average Ana player, so far in this match I really just couldn't find my mojo, and it definitely wouldn't help my confidence to actually start lagging while the other support was waiting for me to heal them. I mean, see how freaky it looks in the replay when your internet connection goes belly up. It makes it so much worse that our Baptiste was actually doing a fantastic job of covering for how poorly I was playing by nailing the heals when they really mattered. Just as my ISP was having a stroke, the enemy Reinhardt would test our performance under pressure and landed a massive shatter. And while most of my team reacted appropriately to deal with the current situation, I spastically tried to sleep out my own Roadhog before panic nano boosting him in hopes of us somehow surviving the engagement. I wouldn't blame you for thinking that I was roleplaying as an actual old lady playing a video game as I struggled to make up my mind about target prioritization, and was it not for my Baptiste getting Lucio off of me, chances are that I wouldn't have made it through that fight. Shortly after, I was given 2 opportunities to heal my Tracer when she really needed said support. Now, the first one unceremoniously went into the gas station and was only slightly embarrassing. But the next one would be much more crucial as we were 2v1ing the enemy Tracer, and I even went as far as to take a second to line up the shot just to whiff it in even more spectacular fashion. But that would be nothing compared to my seizure-inducing keyboard face roll that wasted all of my cooldowns for literally no reason. Now, I will lie if I said that watching my Sigma slurp up the mega health pack that I so desperately needed did not make a part of me die on the inside. But let's be honest here, it's not like I would have made good use of it anyway. Of course, we found ourselves eliminated, the enemy team finally took the first point, and our Baptiste lost all hope in my ability to heal, leaving the game. To add insult to injury, karma found its way on my face in form of a pulse bomb that I previously chuckled at for missing its target. Having been eliminated, of course, I didn't see what happened on the opening stretch of the second point, but going back into the replay, I got to witness how much of a Giga Chad Neon Rain the Sigma player was, because not only did he avoid getting slaughtered, he also outplayed the enemy Tracer that blew me up just to finish his little shield dance with a tactical crouch that I very much appreciated. I see you, Neon Rain. Keep doing God's work. Thanks to our survivors, we found the space to safely regroup and take another fight on what is usually a very snowbally part of Route 66, and where you might expect me to slowly warm up my gameplay, instead, it had only gotten worse. I took 18 years to line up a shot on the enemy Lucio and then gave up trying to do the same for my soldier, so I used my nano boost as a makeshift instant heal. Sammy tried to make the best of it, but the enemies ended up being fairly elusive and no eliminations would go our way. But finally, praise Jeff, I would be able to note a small victory in my book thanks to the enemy Reinhardt full sending it into our backline. A confidence boosting, easy to hit sleep that ensured the safety of my second support that, frankly, was destined to do way more healing than me anyway. After a short poking period between our teams, I was given the chance to lose all the confidence I had just obtained by missing a sleep dart on the same Reinhardt that I was so proud of hitting a few moments earlier. But that was not the peak of my embarrassment, because I was totally doing that forum thing everybody in Plat and below complains about, where I somehow find a way to miss healing darts on a practically stationary target. Now this is the part of the match where I definitely get a feeling of deja vu. Enemy Tracer gets smashed by Sammy, enemy Reinhardt full setting it just to get sleep darted, and me getting eliminated because apparently positioning had suddenly become a foreign concept to me. As funny as it is to sleep dart the enemy Reinhardt, I would lie if I said that this play really made any difference one way or another, avoiding a lapse in judgment that would make us commit to what is obviously not an elimination that we are capable of getting. Sammy and I retreated to go back into the fight once our team had respawned. Well, that was the plan anyway, but seeing as the cut was getting dangerously close to the second point, our Tracer had to jump into stall and we had to engage the enemies without our Roadhog and second support, who for some reason decided to switch to Zenyatta. Let me tell you buddy, if there's one thing we don't need on this team right now, then it's even less healing. Regardless of that, we gave this point another go, and as much as I hoped for our anti-nade pulse bomb combo to be the start of a comeback story, unfortunately, we still didn't manage to hold the point. A sleep dart on the enemy Reinhardt was supposed to ensure that Neon Rain and I can find our way back into our spawn, but boy howdy was their main tank ever not happy about having been slept, and my man had to pay the price for it. Now believe it or not, but I actually managed to retreat all the way back to spawn without them being able to catch up to me despite the presence of an enemy Lucio. And where most of the bad things that happened to me so far have been a result of my own incompetence, this charge that was meant for anyone but me had simply been unlucky. This was also the first time that I actually realized Rat King having switched to Zenyatta, and just as I thought, man, that doesn't look like a good decision to me, the kill feed proved my voice to be right. But our nameless Tracer kept us in the game by landing a massive pulse bomb, and we finally had an opportunity to contest the card for realsies. I know that we don't need even more examples of me sucking for you to believe that my performance was edging on borderline throwing, but depending on the perspective, me whiffing shots on our Zenyatta could have been a big brain play meant to fool the enemy Tracer into believing that she could actually take him out before using recall, but ultimately taking an torp to the face. All a matter of interpretation. What is not left for interpretation is the fact that I was actually fairly terrified of the things going on around me. Sure, we had secured the card for the time being, but hearing armored movement on the left side and tracer blinks on the right side made my anxiety skyrocket. Thankfully, our Roadhog dealt with a flanking menace while the Reinhardt decided to run it down mid again just to face his inevitable demise. I mean, seriously, I would have had to go out of my way to miss that shot. Their main tank was easily disposed of, and while my Sigma had no problems whatsoever maintaining a strong presence on the card, I had so little faith in myself that as soon as I saw him get hooked, I hit that Q button harder than I hope you hit that sub button. What ended up being a zoning nano at best was followed up by another, and I legitimately cannot believe this guy keeps doing that, but another flanking strap by the enemy Reinhardt. Was it not for some very strong counterplay sides of my team, this could have actually ended up doing a lot of damage. Only 60 seconds left on the clock and a massive ultimate bank for the red team meant that this was still anyone's game. Much like I always find ways to still with shots in this round, the enemy Reinhardt also always finds a way to be the first one back on the respawn train. But this time, their tracer spotted a window of opportunity to use her pulse bomb and actually open up the point for her team. This was definitely a very tense scenario we found ourselves in. With the only player on our team keeping the enemy tracer at bay gone, she was now hunting for the backline. I was once again struggling to keep my Zenyatta alive, which is usually something I do in my sleep, and when my ping spiked into the heavens once again, the only logical play seemed to be panic nano boosting, well, anyone really. My tracer ended up being the unfortunate recipient of another one of my bad decisions, and naturally there wasn't much they could do in their current position. I guess it kept them alive long enough to maintain the card at its location, but at the end, overtime would hit and the pressure was on. I traded with the enemy Reinhardt that attempted to flank us once again, and Neon Rain was doing a fantastic job of staying alive and stalling the card until I finally returned to juice him back up. Even at the very end of the game, with victory being on the line, I could not muster to land an intentional shot to save my life. Thankfully, RNGesus was on my side, and I definitely would not miss out on the opportunity of teabagging the Reddit Lucio that was harassing me at the start of the game, despite the fact that the shot that took him out landed on him by complete accident. Stupefyingly, I managed to not only be on the winning side of this match while playing horribly, but somehow Neon Rain was under the impression that I was unironically doing a good job of healing him. The game rewarded me with a POTG, an endorsement, and an amount of praise that, after having watched this video, you can only agree I did not at all deserve. What is the morale of today's story? Well, we all have bad days in Overwatch, but never forget that thanks to the power of matchmaking RNG, you can still be granted victory despite not contributing to it in the slightest. The end. Hey, I hope you enjoyed witnessing a bit of a different side of my gameplay. If you ever feel bad about your own performance, remember that the game showered me in praise and validation despite playing like a bronze. Anyway, I appreciate you watching to the end, and if you enjoyed it, do let me know by dropping me a like on your way out, consider ringing the bell if you want to see more, and most importantly, stay safe out there everybody, and don't forget to wash your hands. Peace.